Welcome to Inside Design with Kandrak and Cole, hosted by two nationally published Atlanta interior designers, Joanne Kandrak and Kelly Cole. These energetic women are also world travelers, charity givers, and bloggers with a wealth of information to share and stories to tell about the interior design world. Okay, now just a warning, this is going to be fun and not too serious. After all, they still do have an interior design business running at full speed.
Hey everybody, welcome to Inside Design with Kandrak and Cole. This is our episode number 100, which we are so excited about. But what makes this even more special is our guest today, who is Marlo Thomas. So we are so honored to have her. Yay! Of course, you know, she's an award-winning actress. She's an author. She's an activist and a consummate hostess. So she is launching a new collaboration with Williams Sonoma, Pottery Barn, for an exquisite new tabletop and barware line that we are discussing today, amongst many other things. So before we jump in, we want to tell you two quick stories of why having Marlo on our show is so thrilling to us.
So the first story goes back to 2014 when we were invited by Brizo as part of a Blogger 19 reunion to tour St. Jude Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, and to spend the afternoon playing with the sick kids. It was one of the best days of my entire life. I still talk about it all the time. And whenever I'm asked to donate to St. Jude, whether it's from my Tri-Delt sorority friends or at the counter at Home Goods, I say yes. So if you aren't old enough like us to love Marlo from her days on That Girl or Free to Be You and Me, among many others, then you know her face and her signature voice from the TV commercials for St. Jude, where she is the National Outreach Director. So after our visit to St. Jude, our love for Marlo and her father, Danny Thomas, who founded the hospital, went up several notches.
That is so amazing. So our other story is Marlo's relationship with St. Jude evolved into a product partnership with Williams Sonoma, which leads us to our second story, which goes back to 2019, when we were invited by Design Hounds and Signature Kitchen Suite to visit Napa. While in Napa, we visited the Chuck Williams Culinary Art Museum. Chuck Williams was the founder of Williams Sonoma, and upon his death in 2015, he bequeathed his extraordinary personal collection of thousands of cookware items to the Culinary Institute of America. It was truly amazing and very inspiring. I have so many pictures. There's a wall of copper Jello molds. Like it's one of the most interesting and amazing collections, and it was so great that we had the opportunity to see that.
Yeah, it was amazing. So we just tell you these stories so you understand why this collaboration with Williams Sonoma and Marlo is so special, and one that we want to personally introduce all of our listeners to today. So Marlo, we welcome you to our podcast.
Thank you. Well, you've warmed my heart by talking about St. Jude Children's Research Hospital first, because that's the most important thing in the world to me. I'm so glad you got to experience it and be with those kids. They're so great. They're so brave. They're so smart. They're so compassionate of each other. You know, I love to see the 5-year-old put with his arm around a 3-year-old, telling him everything was going to be okay. It's just so darling. I just love those children.
It was seriously a life-changing moment. Not only just seeing, of course, all the amazing design for people that don't know. You know, there's all these rooms for the kids that have been designed by famous people like Tiger Woods or Trisha Yearwood. There's all these amazing rooms for the kids, whether it be a sound room or a craft room, that have been inspired by famous people, which were great for us from a design perspective. But of course,
Joanna Gaines and her husband Chip Gaines did the dining room in Target House, and they also built a playhouse for the children on that property.
So many feel good.
Yeah, Joanna and Chip Gaines have done a lot for St. Jude kids.
Yeah.
So everybody wants to help out. Amy Grant to help with the music room.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Amy Grant.
Yeah. A lot of very good, talented people have helped us, and a lot of people have given us the money in order to build these places. And if you're a Tri-Delt, you know very well that you built our Tri-Delt house, which houses about 100 families. So we're blessed with a lot of people who care.
It's amazing all the way around.
Yeah.
So
you have that in your background. And of course, an amazing actress. I will just tell you that. My dad, who is passed now, him and I used to sit together and watch that girl.
Really?
Because, you know what? Because he kind of reminded me of Danny Thomas. He kind of had that, he kind of looked a little bit like him. So anyway, we're going to get on to this beautiful tabletop information for you. So we know personally that tabletop decoration is an art and a skill that really not all of us have. So where did your love of entertaining come from?
I think my mom, she just had a knack for it. And it's interesting because she came from, a very lower middle class Italian family in Detroit. So she did not grow up, where her mother had been some elegant hostess. Her mom did all the cooking for the 5 children. But my mother always used to say that there was a French saying that the eyes eat before the stomach. And so you make
that's
something
an Italian
beautiful.
for you. Well, that's a Sicilian for you.
Yeah, right. But it's true. We do. If something looks beautiful on a plate, you'll try it. If it could be the most delicious thing in the world and it was just kind of glommed onto a plate, you would pass it up. So so to me, it's always about making everything inviting. You invite people to your house for dinner or for cocktails, and that's the first step, to invite them to your home. And then once they get there, it should continue to be inviting, all of it. I like to have candles lit and beautiful flowers around, and a bottle of wine open, a bottle of champagne open, and lovely hors d'oeuvres and pretty plates that I've collected from some place where I've traveled. And so everything is very inviting. So inviting to me is the word.
Yes.
Yeah. When I go to someone's house and the table, like they've really taken the time to make the table beautiful and whatever.
Right.
I feel like that's
it's a gift.
It's a gift. It's like it's very respectful to the person coming to your house. You've really taken the time.
They're telling you we're glad you're here. And we made an effort to make it really pretty for you and have delicious food for you.
But it really is a skill. I feel like I can design an entire home furniture-wise with my eyes shut, but when it comes to a really beautiful tabletop, I'm not good at it. I don't know why, because I feel like I'm a good hostess, all those things, but
it's design, but we can't. Yeah, we're both like this.
I've got to practice it.
It really starts with what you're going to serve. So let's say you're going to put out a cocktail table, and you're going to have cheese and crackers and some fruit. You're going to have a couple of dips, and then you're going to have a basket full of bread, cookie crackers, maybe some pita bread cut up. And you also decided you're going to have some cold shrimp with some cocktail sauce on the side and little toothpicks in the shrimp. Okay, so say those are your 5 things you've decided on. Now the fun part is, what are you going to put them on? What plate are you going to use? If you're going to use the shrimp, put it in a bowl with shaved ice and put the shrimp all around the top of the shaved ice with the toothpicks in it and a little cup with the red sauce. Right away, that looks fresh. It looks cold. I want to have some. And so everything you do, for example, and I have a bowl in my collection that you can do that with, a beautiful bowl, wooden bowl with handles. I fill that with shaved ice. I put the shrimp with the toothpicks on top of that and a little bowl that I also have and put red sauce in that. And then it comes time for the dips. I have another thing that I love because I don't like schlepping a lot of stuff back and forth. So this is it has a handle and it's 3 little bowls. It's a triple dipping dish. And I like to do it in different colors because that's appetizing. So I'll put a guacamole, which is green, a hummus, which is yellow, and a salsa, which is red. So you've got green, beige, and red on the table. That looks very appetizing. And then next to that, a pretty wooden basket that I picked up in Nantucket or a little Indian basket that I picked up in the Southwest somewhere. Some pretty little basket, and I'll put the pita bread and the crackers or whatever in that for the dipping. And then a crudité. Nothing is prettier than a crudité because it's all those colors, and carrots and red peppers and green peppers and yellow peppers and all of those things. And sometimes in the middle, I'll just put a whole bunch of olives. And then you can put those things also in the dishes. So it's really once you decide what you want to have on your table, then you start thinking about, okay, so what am I going to put each thing in that's really pretty? My favorite thing that I actually designed myself because I've always wanted one is a cheese tray. And
I have read about this. I read about this cheese tray.
Oh God! I have 2 of them, and I've already bought them for everybody I know. I just absolutely love them. It's a wooden
I love
tray.
that you measured the cracker to fit in the, yeah.
I did.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's detail.
That's true. It's true. Well, I wanted to be sure that at least the crackers that I knew about would be big enough, because you have no idea what size to make a cracker tray, right? Because it's a little porcelain dish, so that it's a wood tray, beautiful wood, that you can cut on. So I put the cheese there and a big bunch of grapes. It has silver handles, and it has these two porcelain dishes that are rectangular, and they're sort of round on the bottom. So you put the crackers in that, and you can put olives in the other one, or a pita bread cut up, or whatever you want. And the silver is brass, silver plated brass that's lacquered, so you never have to polish it, which is great. But the whole idea of that is this is the collection that I patterned after my time in England. And I used to go to the Portobello Road sort of flea market, antique store, junkyard every Saturday morning before my matinee. And I found these wood and silver and porcelain pieces that I fashioned, the bowls that you see, and the triple dip dish, which I designed because they didn't have that in those days. And they never had a cheese board. They had wonderful wine and champagne buckets, which I've also got in the collection. But this cheese board, I took all the elements, the wood, the silver, and the porcelain, and made the cheese board. But the English, antique English people didn't have that. And it's actually sold out online. You have to go to the store to buy it. I mean,
well, that's what I was going to say. For anybody that hasn't looked at Marlo's collection yet, you've got to go check this out, because the metal wrapped around, it's a hand-turned solid oak that is mixed with this beautiful brass that she's speaking of, and it's piece after piece, and they're so stunning. And the porcelain, has that little bit of shine in there. And I mean, I cannot wait to, I'm kind of hooked on, I love it all, but I want that server bowl.
Oh, I know. But you can pull up the porcelain out of the bowl and wash it. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's functional.
I know. So,
it's so pretty.
And it all came about because Laura Alber, I don't know if you know of her, she's the CEO and president of Williams Sonoma. She's very beautiful and very stylish woman. And she was at Phil's in my apartment for a St. Jude dinner. We were hosting about 50 St. Jude partners, and she was here, and she was sitting on the sofa in front of my cocktail table. It was a long table. It was a farm kitchen table, which I cut down, so it's nice and long, so I can put all kinds of food and bread and flowers and wine and everything on it. And she said, "This is the prettiest table I've ever seen. Where did you get this stuff?" And I said, "Well, I bought this in England. I bought this in Kyoto, Japan. I bought this in Ravello, Italy, and all the different places that I've been." And she said, "You have to do a collection with us." I mean, I would have never have thought of that. So I said, "Oh, okay, let's talk about it." And she said, "Well, you have everything." I said, "Well, I don't have everything. I don't have a cheese tray." So she said, "You draw it and we'll make it." And I thought, wow, how exciting. I can draw it and she'll make it. And
what
they did. And,
honor.
Right.
And they, really. Well, that, she has a lot of vision. And it's interesting, when I was going through a lot of the pieces, and I was speaking to Laura one day on the phone, and I was saying, "Oh, this is so great, and I love this." And she said, "I'm so glad you're having fun." She said, "I have fun. That's why I do this." She says, "I still enjoy, and I still have fun, putting all these tables together, coming up with all these product ideas." So she has a really open vision that she would say to me, a novice, "You draw it and we'll make it." She really loves it. And that's why it's fun to work with them, because they're all having a good time. Whether they're designers or marketers or whatever, they're enjoying it. And that's great
passion,
for me.
So let me ask you this. Was the blue and white porcelain just a no-brainer to you based on your travels to Japan, or did you consider other colors when building your collection?
Well, I do have other colors, but I think the blue and white with the wood is so pretty.
It really is.
Yeah. And I love the square shaped plate. Obviously I have round plates in my house, but I have several plates that are not round. I have those little square plates that I bought in Kyoto. And then I also have an oblong plate, sort of an oval plate that I bought in Ravello, Italy. That's very good for pasta. It's also good for anything, but it's actually a pasta plate. And then I have another plate that's a larger rectangle that I bought somewhere, and it is great for a buffet. Or if Phil and I are having dinner alone, and I'm going to have maybe a piece of fish and a yam, a sweet potato, and a small little tomato and onion salad, I can put it all on this one plate. And I love that because, when you're a hostess, one of the things you don't want to be dealing with is 1,000 plates, which is why I love the cheese tray, because it holds the fruit, the cheese, and the crackers. And the three, and the triple dipping dish holds 3 different dips. So I only have to carry out 2 things: the cheese tray for all everything you want for the cheese, and the triple dip dish for all the dips, and then a basket for and then a basket for the crackers. Yeah, and I think that's when you're out shopping, whether it's at Williams Sonoma or any place else, but Williams Sonoma actually has so much stuff. I mean, I've been going through their entire website. They have everything in the world you could need. But if you're like in Italy or Barbados or Puerto Rico or wherever you are, you'll go into a little shop and there'll be a really sweet little basket. And you say, wow, that would be great for crackers. So you collect things along the way. And sometimes I'll buy a plate and I won't really have anything in mind for it, but it's so pretty and the shape is so odd, which I love odd shaped plates.
And when you pull it out, it brings back the memory of that trip.
Right, exactly. And then you find, then one day you'll be putting something and you say, oh, God, that plate I got in Puerto Rico, that'll be perfect for this, And then you pull that out. And that to me is the fun of running a home and being a hostess.
So have you been entertaining much during COVID, or do you have any small parties, or is it just you and Phil around the table?
It's really just been us. For Thanksgiving, we had 2 other people. And same on Christmas. There's this one other couple. Well, now that we're all being vaccinated, it's better. But there were a couple of couples who were crazy as we are. We just didn't leave our apartment except to go in the park. I mean, we did not go to a restaurant or any of that stuff. And so we were very concerned about not catching this. And as you recall, New York was on fire. Everybody was getting it. We had 2 friends who died. One was an actor that I had worked with a couple of times. Yeah. Mark Blum was his name. He died, and another friend. And so we thought, this is crazy. So we have to be very careful. So this one couple who live across the park from us in New York, they walk. They don't even get into a cab or an Uber. They walk through the park and come over and have dinner with us. So we spent Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's with them.
We all have a quarantine posse that we're if Joanne goes down, I'm going down with her. So
exactly. You have to be careful. But now, in fact, this afternoon, Phil and I are getting our 2nd vaccination. So
good for you.
That we'll feel a little freer.
And then be able to entertain again.
Yeah.
When I look back at photos or, from Christmas or parties and see a group of people together, it looks so weird now.
It does.
I know.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, ooh. So when do you cook every night? Do you make a nice table every night?
Well, I have a housekeeper, I have to admit, and she makes the food most of the nights. On the weekend, we're on our own, so that's when I do my cooking. And I mostly like to make Italian food because that's what I learned how to make as a kid, and it's easy for me, and I love the smell of it in the house. I love the smell of the tomato sauce cooking.
Joanne can relate to that as an Italian, too.
Yeah.
Are you, Joanne?
Yeah, I'm a full-blooded Sicilian, so look out.
Oh, goody. That's what my mother was, Sicilian, yeah. Yeah, she was my mother was a great cook. She could walk into any kitchen, of which there was nothing in the kitchen, and she could somehow figure out how to make a spaghetti sauce. And she could just do it. It's great,
So after COVID and you've had all your vaccines and things settled down, I know you're a big traveler, so are you itching to go somewhere?
I'm itching to go where the sun is. I'd like to go to Barbados.
No kidding.
It's my favorite place,
Is it? Usually, Barbados?
Oh, yeah. I love it there.
I've only been there once, and I just remember it was so hot.
Yeah.
It's very close to the equator.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Well, you don't go in August, but it's beautiful there. We always go in like February and March when it's cold here, and it's very cold here now in New York, and it's going to be getting colder. We understand at the end of the week, so this is a very good time to go. But what's beautiful about Barbados is the Barbadians run it. Everybody at the hotels and the restaurants, they're all Barbadian. So, and the people that run the restaurants and that run the hotels are Barbadian. So you don't have the kind of resentment of the fact that the white people came to the island and took it over kind of thing. These people are educated. They have a very good education system. That you always see the children in their plaid skirts and uniforms going back and forth to school. It's a very, and that's not true of all the islands, but it's true. We've been to every one of them, and Barbados is very, 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 very civil and very welcoming.
That's nice. So let me just return back to your collection real quick before we ask you some other questions. But so this first collaboration that you have is only 11 pieces. So we just, we know there's going to be a round 2, right?
Well, in the fall, we're going to put in some holiday pieces.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, some holiday looking glasses and appetizer plates and napkins and things. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, I think the champagne bucket is really pretty, and I have a couple of sterling silver ones that I love to use as vases. So, if you use one for your champagne, then you use the other one to put a beautiful poinsettia or something in there. It look beautiful with that wood.
Well, that's why I really love the wood, because I've got all this sterling silver from my grandparents and my great-grandparents, and it needs the contrast of, that wood or the glass or something to make it more gritty and cozy. So I can't wait to get my hands on a few of these pieces.
Well, that's one of the other things that I've learned through the years myself, is that a table is pretty if everything doesn't match. So if you've got a silver champagne bucket, then have a wooden wine bucket, and if you have a lot of other wooden plates and things, and then you bring out blue and white plates and blue and white napkins. And in fact, the night that Laura saw my table, there were the wooden and silver things that I had out, plus blue and white napkins and blue and white appetizer plates, and then I had pink wine glasses. So you've got pink wine glasses, blue and white napkins and things, and wooden and silver things. And so the table becomes alive.
It's just happy. It's like a happy space.
A happy table. And then, of course, I had a bouquet of flowers that were pink and blue and white and whatever. So you get a feeling of, somebody is collecting things. This isn't, when you go to a restaurant, everything matches, right? They have a matching thing. It's a beige bone china plate with a gold rim or some flowers, and it comes out for everything. It's for the salad, it's for the dessert, it's on the coffee cup, it's everywhere. That's a hotel. But when people come to your home, then they get to see you, and you get to show them all the imagination you have, and it's not that hard to do. I have friends who say, I could never do this. I said, it really isn't that big a deal. Just when you go shopping, when you're out, and you see a pink vase, buy it. And when you see a green bucket, buy it. And then
like you said, just buy it, and then you can figure out how you're going to use it.
Yeah, and it's if you think it's pretty, then you should buy it and be with it.
And I wish that, when I got married 30 years ago, I wasn't savvy enough. I registered, and I have my place settings of sterling, and I've got my crystal, and I have my china, and everything matches. Ew, why didn't anybody tell me back then that it didn't have to be so perfect? And I could,
It's not too late. You put out your beautiful china, and you decide, okay, I'm going to use this as the dinner plate. Maybe I'll use it as the dinner plate, and I'll use it as the coffee cup. Okay. But for the salad, I'm going to use a whole other color plate. And for the dessert plate, I'm going to use another whole other color. And all of a sudden, it all goes together.
Well, you've inspired me to practice. I'm going to go home and practice this stuff. Yeah. Well, Laura had to have seen, like you said, she has vision. So she looked at all the things that you collected and thought, wow, this is something.
Yeah.
Let's collaborate with this girl. Yeah.
Right. Well, she's very open to it. since I've been working with them, I've been studying, what they have and going on the website, which I hadn't really much before, except if I knew I wanted something, I'd go look for it. But wow, I mean, they have so much great stuff. I've been buying all kinds of things that aren't even my collection. Just a pretty tray, pretty this. The other day I didn't even know I needed it. Oh, I bought a new popcorn machine, which is great.
Yeah, you get sucked into the catalog.
And then I bought this thing called a splatter screen. You know how when you're making bacon?
Oh my gosh,
I have that.
My daughter keeps telling me to get that.
That is the best thing, and it's not even very expensive. But it's like this. It's round, and you put it on top. It has a handle, and you put it on top of the frying pan, and it doesn't splatter on you. I mean, I have so many splatter marks on me through COVID when I was cooking all the time before I had the housekeeper come back, and it's great. And it's like, I don't even know how much it cost. I don't remember now, but it was very inexpensive. And I thought, I'd never even heard of a splatter screen before.
The things we learned during COVID.
They have everything.
Yeah.
Well, we need to wrap up here in just a few minutes, but we can't let you leave without telling us briefly about the release of your book back in May with your husband of 40 years, Phil Donahue, named What Makes a Marriage Last, and your latest podcast with your hubby called Double Date, which I did listen to the trailer, and I could just, listening to you and him talk, I could almost feel that chemistry of the two of you.
That's a big compliment to hear that through the microphone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, we've been together 40 years, actually 43 years, because we didn't get married for 3 years. But we're really good pals, and we make each other laugh, and we make each other mad, and we do all the things that every other couple does. But we do have a great connection, and
he's so cute. He's so cute. Those eyes. Goodness.
He's a really darling man. He's a darling.
So how did the idea come about? Well, first for the book and then for the podcast. Was one of you the driver, or was it more another dinner party thing, like when Laura came over?
Oh, actually, a couple that we know were getting a divorce, and they'd been married about 29, 30 years, and we were stunned. We couldn't believe it, and so we started saying to each other, "What is that? How could you not be safe after 29 or 30 years? Well, what happened, and what did they do wrong, and what did we do right, and what is the secret to all this?" So we started talking about it, and I said to Phil, "Why don't we do a book and interview a lot of people?" And he said, "Oh, no, I would never want to be interviewed about our marriage. I'm not going to talk about our marriage, blah, 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 how men are." So anyway, I kept talking about it, and then one night at dinner, we talked to some friends about it, and everybody said, "Oh, God, that'd be a great book. I'd love to hear about that." So we did. And Phil said, "Okay, but I'm not talking about our marriage." And I said, "Okay," but of course we did. We talked about our marriage all through the book. Because you can't help it. You're on a double date, really. It's you and Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen. It's you and John McEnroe and Patty Smythe. You're going to talk about yourself as they talk about themselves. And so it was really, really fun to do. We did the book, and then we both thought it might be interesting to do this as a podcast and interview new people that we haven't interviewed before, as well as some of the ones that we had interviewed. So it's really, really a good podcast. I've had so much fun doing it. We built it's a back bedroom, and we put the microphones and the buffers and the music stands and everything, and we do it in our back bedroom. So it's our little studio, because we couldn't go to a studio, which is great, because now we never have to go to a studio. We have it all set up. And the company's called Pushkin Industries, and they gave us all this equipment to use. So it's great.
Awesome. We have in our office, we have an extra room, and we have it all kind of pimped out as our podcast studio. It's covered with women artists who have painted all this original art for us in bright colors, and we love it. I mean, I can't. It's going to be so entertaining to listen to. I want to hear what they. I mean, I've been married 30 years. Joanne, you've been married 36,
maybe. Yeah.
So I want to see what there is out there to learn.
Well, plus being in the industry, people don't necessarily stay married for 40 years.
And what's also interesting is that when we were being interviewed after we did the book, and interviewers said to us that they couldn't believe the kind of stories that people told. They said, I would never have gotten that out of somebody. She said, you were able to get information and personal anecdotes from people that they would have never told a reporter. And I hadn't realized that before, that was one of the really interesting things, because if we're talking to Billy Crystal and his wife, or Rob Reiner, or whoever, Sanjay Gupta, all these different people, they're going to talk to us in a much more friendly, familiar way. They're not going to be guarded, as we're all guarded when we talk to the press, especially if you're talking to the print press. If you're talking on the radio or podcast, or you're talking on television, you have control over how it's going to come across. But in print, you don't know what they're going to say. They're going to not put the whole sentence there, or they'll say something like, she insisted. Well, I didn't insist. I just said it,
Yeah.
Or he said defensively, wait a minute, it wasn't defensive. So you have to guard yourself against the sort of the creativity of these writers. And I think that was why I think we were trusted. They knew. Well,
yeah, I was going to say, you must have made them feel very comfortable, and therefore the quality and the content of your podcast is much more emotional and real.
And it's not meant to be like paparazzi style. It's just for people that people that look up to these particular people and understand that they are in marriages just like us, and they deal with things just like us, and it might make them feel a little better that because somebody's a celebrity
and they know, because we're also celebrities, so to speak, and we're not playing gotcha with anybody. We're not trying to catch anybody.
I'm really looking forward to it.
In your book, what are just a few, I don't know, what are your top 3 tips for your great marriage with Phil? Or why do you think it works so well for you guys?
Well, I think what we learned from the book, what I always say for us, the 3 L's: love, listening, and lust. Those are the 3 L's. You have to listen to each other. And I think that many of the people that we interviewed talked about that they felt it took them a couple of years to really listen to what the other person was saying, and not to think they had the answer to everything, or to kind of dismiss it because they already knew that, but they really sat and listened to what the other person had to say. But James Carville said something that Phil just loved. He said, when you're having one of those arguments where you're going around and around and around and you're getting nowhere, he said at some point you just have to kick that can down the road. And I thought that is such great advice. He said every good marriage has about 1 million cans on the road. Yeah. And when we came off the road after interviewing all these people, we were having one of those circular arguments one night. And Phil looked at me and said, why don't we just kick this can down the road? And we both started laughing, and that's become our new credo. I mean, we say it all the time to each other.
Let it go. Yeah.
Let's kick the can. It just is, when you've been married a long time, and you've both been married a long time, but even after about 10, 12 years, you get it. You're not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. So make it nice. Make it happy. That was the other thing that we figured out, that the reason these marriages lasted is because nobody ran for the exit sign when things got tough. So if things get tough and you're looking for the exit sign, the exit sign is always there. You can always leave. But the people who make a strong, good marriage are the people that don't go to the exit sign. They make it work in its problems, like Michael J. Fox getting a Parkinson's disease after 3 years of marriage. And that's a lifelong disease. Or people like Jamie Lee Curtis, who had a terrible addiction. Jesse Jackson not only cheated on his wife, but had a baby out of wedlock. And Kira Sedgwick and Kevin Bacon lost all their money to Bernie Madoff. I mean, these are huge issues. And, so when you look at it, sickness and cheating and addiction and money problems and children who get sick and all of this stuff, children who die. Everybody in a marriage has to face all of these things, or one of these things, or several of these things. And it's not really a how-to book. It's a what book. What did you do when this happened? Not how. It's not how to keep a marriage, because we all know how. Okay, how we're nice, we have a good amount of sex, we're nice to each other, we blah, blah, blah. That's a pamphlet. But a book is anecdotes. What did you do? So I've always said from the beginning, this is not a how book, it's a what book. And that's what the podcast is. It's a what.
I'm so impressed. I could listen to you forever. Yeah. So
thank you.
That was our intent in chatting today, was we wanted to let the big crowd that listens to us, know more about you, and if you haven't, heard of this new line with Williams Sonoma, we want everybody to go elevate your tabletop settings, no matter the size of your dinner party. Buy Marlo's book and Phil's book, and listen to the new podcast, which doesn't come out till March, so hold on. And it's just an amazing array of content that you've just put out there in the last year during a pandemic. Yeah. It's just
that's
totally
why,
amazing.
It's very commendable.
Well, I was going crazy not working as an actress, so I thought I have to be creative.
And I must say that your Instagram page at Marlo Thomas is quite good as well.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah, I have a lot of fun with that. Yeah, I love to take pictures, so it's fun. Well, you two have been wonderful to talk to. I've really enjoyed it.
So we have to end with our couple quotes, and
a funny quote and a serious quote. So, Joanne, which one would you like today?
I'll take the funny quote.
Okay.
And this is kind of relatable. And this comes from Julia Child. A party without cake is just a meeting.
That's great.
Voila. All right. Here is our serious note for you all, which applies also to today's conversation. You don't have to move mountains. Simply fall in love with life. Be a tornado of happiness, gratitude, and acceptance. You will change the world just by being a warm, kind-hearted human being. And that is by Anita Crisan. That's you, Marlo.
Lovely.
That's you, a warm, kind-hearted human being.
Thank you.
With a lot of energy.
With a lot of energy.
I do that on my Facebook page. I'm going to use that Julia Child's one. That is really funny. That's really funny. Oh, so what is it? A party with, say it again?
A party without cake.
Without a cake.
Is just a meeting.
It's
just a meeting. And we want a party.
That's right.
Yeah. It's been a thrill talking to you. Like I was saying earlier, I usually don't get butterflies, but I had butterflies. But you've been just wonderful to talk to. And
yes,
thank you.
It's been a really for our 100th episode. How we had thought about what can we do, and when this came up, it's like this is it. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this.
Well, I'm very honored to be your 100th guest, and good for you for making it to 100. That's fabulous. Congratulations.
Yes. Podcasting is
Phil
fun.
And I can do that.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah. You'll love it.
Okay, so here's the deal. For your 100th podcast, yours and Phil's, you can have Kelly and I, because we're basically like a married couple. We've been in business together 15 years.
That sounds great.
We can do a series on business partners.
Answer one question, because I don't really understand podcasts that well yet. So if somebody wants to find your podcast, where do they go? They go to iHeartRadio, or where do they go?
There's many places you can go. Most people, I believe, listen to them on an iPhone. So you go to Apple Podcasts. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're on an Android, Stitcher.
You can also find us on Amazon. You can find us on iHeartRadio. You can find us on Pandora, Spotify. Yeah. Anywhere podcasts are played, we have been approved by the powers that be to be on those platforms. So you just would type in Inside Design with Kandrack and Cole. We pop up, you subscribe, and voila.
Then they come into your inbox. Yeah.
Oh, good.
And the same for you and Double Date.
Great. Okay. Well, I'll be listening.
Thank you, Marlo.
Thank you so much.
Stay safe.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Join Joanne and Kelly weekly for a lively conversation about trends, travels to industry events, current design projects, the good, the bad, and the ugly, do's and don'ts, product recommendations, and more. Be sure to follow the fun on Facebook. They're on Instagram at Kandrack Cole, and of course, you've got to visit them online at kandrack-cole.com for more information.